come on just like 2 or 3 minutes early here so I can get started and I don't dither around with, so I can get myself up on Facebook and be able to show everybody, or see where everybody is and where I am on Facebook. Yes. All right, so here I am. Very good. All right, I see that now. Let me check my sound and see how that sounds. Okay, I guess I've turned that much up, but I have to turn up the other and see if I can hear. Okay, I guess I've turned that much up, but I have to turn up the other. Okay, that's good. That's good. All right, so now I can go over here and turn my sound off. For me, anyway, you all should still be able to hear it. I'm going to make sure my closed captions are on. All right, because I have a hearing impairment, it's important for me to be able to have that available to people. So let me turn that down there. All right, and I'm going to go full screen there. Excellent. All right, so I'm going to do full screen over here. And let's see here. There we go. Okay, now I have a much bigger screen to look at so that I make sure that I have enough room to show you everything. Okay. All right, and I have 2 minutes before I technically really need to start. Not sure why this is this paused? It shouldn't be paused. Okay, there we go. And it should be good. I should be here. I should be available. I don't see any hand over there, so there we go. Okay. Sorry, I have 2 screens I'm watching, and one of them is my Facebook page to make sure that everybody is able to see me on Facebook today. And I have less than a minute left before I'm supposed to start. Sorry, I think my voice sounds a little bit weak tonight, but it's all allergy related stuff. Thank goodness it's just allergy related stuff. It's been an eventful couple of weeks. So anyway, everything is fine here at home, no problems. We did have an eventful day last Tuesday. 2 daughters were involved, and needless to say, everything worked its way out. Everybody's fine. We had an injury, and we had to pick someone up at the airport. Both of these things occurred about the same time, and so it was difficult for us to, it got handled. So everybody's fine, and back at work and back at home, and so that's okay. All right, so now it is officially 7 o'clock on Tuesday night, January 10th. I am Virginia Doll. I'm coming to you from Bowie, Maryland, and this Facebook page is Virginia's Creative Stamping Corner. And I want to make sure that everybody has access to this, so hopefully you'll leave me a comment and let me know what your reaction is to my video. I hope that you do enjoy it. It has been, as I said, a week or so, maybe a little bit longer, since I have actually been on Facebook, and so now I'm back, and hopefully we're going to do the Facebook YouTube thing fairly shortly. I still am hesitant to do it because I'm not sure exactly what I need to do, but we'll figure that out. So hopefully you won't get bored with hearing me talk about it. All right. Yes, so I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and have been for a number of years, and actually 19 years, last August, I guess, in August. That is coming up on a milestone here very shortly, and I am looking forward to being able to, there we go, I can see that now, there. All right, very good. The only thing I won't be able to see are comments unless they come across the screen. Let me go back over here. My closed captioning is off again. I'm not sure why. There we go. Okay. So I have this very large over here. I think I'm going to take it down so I can see comments. Okay. And comments will be coming in sometime soon, I hope. Okay. All right. And yes. Okay. So I'm sorry about that dithering about. So let's go ahead and get started. I have lots of things to show you, but Stampin' Up! Is a company that I work for as an independent demonstrator. The materials and things that I will show this evening are all products of Stampin' Up! And many things I think, you know, if you are a crafter, particularly a paper crafter, you will know that the quality of the materials that I show you is really good quality materials that I work with. The company itself is a very good company, has been at the top of the scale for a number of years now as a very reputable company that sells top quality products. All right, so what I really want to do right at the very beginning is to go through and talk a little bit about some of the promotions and so forth that we have going on right now. We just started a new mini catalog. Here is a picture of the mini catalog. I couldn't show you this until January 5th, which was last week, and it would have been the day after I was going to have my Facebook Live. But anyway, but I wanted to make sure that you saw this catalog, and I can actually turn and show it to you on the inside. And this is one of the collections of cards, and one page has card examples on it, and the other page has the items that are in the suite. You can buy all of these items separately. You don't have to buy them as a whole suite. But you can certainly do that, and we make it convenient because we put one number down here that'll purchase the whole suite for you, and you don't have to go through and type in a bunch of different numbers. But anyway, so that's the catalog, and as typical with Stampin' Up, we always have many examples of how each product is used in our catalogs. There is an annual catalog that is still ongoing, of course, and will be ongoing until the end of April. And there will be items that I will demonstrate for you out of this catalog as well. So keep that in mind. But if you don't have any of these catalogs and you don't have a demonstrator, I'd appreciate it if you'd leave me a comment with your name and address, and I'll be glad to get you a copy of this catalog for free in the mail. All right, and hopefully you'll like what you see this evening and be excited to try these products. So that's our mini catalog, and I'll come back to that in just a minute. During the time period that this new mini catalog is available, there is also a sales promotion going on, and we call it Sale-a-bration. It is our big sale every year. It started on the 5th of January and will end the 28th of February. And this brochure, goes along with the mini catalog, and the items in this brochure are additional pieces that you can use with products in this new mini catalog. And these items are for free with a minimum qualified order. And the first item is there are lots of them in here if you don't have this catalog. Here is the first one, a free stamp set. And again, many examples of how that stamp set can be used. And this one is another stamp set called Thanks a Bunch. The owl one is called Adorable Owls. For a $50 purchase, you buy $50 worth of product, and you can get these items for free. Okay, $50 of product, you get this item for free. This is the one where we are focusing our attention this evening, the Dainty Flowers 12 by 12 Designer Series paper. And I will show you this whole spread here and I'll show you the Dainty Flowers stamp set that this goes with. This designer series paper is absolutely stunning, absolutely stunning. And I'll show you up close and personal in just a few moments exactly what it's like. It's hard to see it right here, but I think you'll agree once you see it more clearly in a minute, you will really, really appreciate how lovely it is. And this is an item that you can get for free with a $50 purchase. All right, now what I'm going to do is show you now the stamp set, or the product of sweets, the sweet, not the sweeter product, the stamp set and die set that goes with that paper that we're going to be using. Okay. Many of the items on the paper can be fussy cut out. The die set probably, I haven't gotten it yet, so I can't really tell you for sure. But sometimes Stampin' Up fixes it so that our dies cut out images on our designer series paper. And so it's very possible that these images, or these images here, that are on our designer series paper as well, can be cut out with these dies. I'll have to show you how that works the next time we get together, because by next week I will have that stamp set, the stamp set and die set. I got the bundle together. All right, let's see. Okay, so that's it, and I'm going to go ahead and get started with the card. First of all, I want to show you the designer series paper. It coordinates, the designer series paper coordinates with many, well, all the colors, several colors in our cardstock. And I'm going to show you really the most beautiful piece right here. This piece of paper, I don't know if you can see this really well, I'm going to turn it this way. One half of the paper, or is a scene, like you would put like a panoramic type of a scene. You can cut this paper in half and like cut it in 6x4 or 6x4. You should be able to get several sheets out of card fronts out of that. And this is the paper that I used to design our card that we're going to be using tonight. And I made this a very simple design. It's also something that can be used with any designer series paper. And several times Stampin' Up! Has done this kind of layout on our designer series paper. And I don't know if you can see or not there. I think maybe you can. The background looks a little textured. It's not embossed, but it does look textured, and I really like that effect. And these look watercolored. So anyway, there's that piece, and the other side looks like this. Here is this piece, and I'm going to flip this around really quickly because it's upside down. All right. Again, that background has a slight texture to it. And here is the paper on the other side. This paper, again, I'm going to turn it sideways because you have several oval shapes here that can be used on a card, and you will see that in one of my examples that I have for you. Again, the background looks textured. And again, another splotchy, watercolory look there, which I do really like. Okay, here I go. Here's this page with the greenery. Okay, now this is hard to see. There you go. I'll let the camera adjust. Kind of a polka dotty thing with fresh freesia, which is one of the colors. Here's this. This is a slightly pinkish background. It's hard to see on the camera, but it's a slightly pinkish or slightly fresh freesia type, really light fresh freesia color there. And then the back side of that looks like this. Don't poke your eyes out on that one. All right, and then finally the last sheet. And there are 6 sheets, two designs on each sheet. Okay, and this is another of the floral pieces. And here is that background. Okay, now let me tell you just briefly what the colors are. There is Starry Sky, Crushed Curry, Rich Razzleberry, I believe this is Blushing Bride, Mossy Meadow, there's our basic white, Fresh Freesia, and Old Olive. Those are the colors that are in the designer series paper. So that's a nice way for you to see what those colors are and identify them. I thought I would show that to you this time, like that. So there we go. All right, now, and that is the Dainty Flowers Designer Series paper. Okay, so here we go. All right, here's the card that we're making this evening. And here is the envelope using designer series paper on the flap so that, you know, it is at least designed. If I had the stamp set, I would have used a stamp in the corner and colored it in. But at the time I did not have the stamp set, so I decided to use the designer series paper. I also extended that to the inside of the card to give that just a little bit of extra, I don't know, elegance, if they want to call it that. Okay, so here are the materials that we need, and of course we have our envelope. Okay, and with our envelope we have our piece of paper that is 2 1/4 by 6, and this is a directional paper, so when I put this on my envelope flap, I need to remember that the flap is going to go like this, and I need to remember to put my directional paper so that it won't be upside down. So keeping that in mind, we'll be doing that in a few minutes. A piece of this ribbon, and this ribbon is actually white. Let me show you that. This is the white crinkle ribbon. Okay, quite crinkled seam binding ribbon. And this is a ribbon that's very easily colored, and I colored it with my blends. I used my dark Daffodil Delight Blend to color it with, the brush tip end right there. Okay, and that will be tied around the edge of the card. Okay, there we go. And in order to make, once you use the blend, let me tell you this now, the ribbon gets a little stiff, and I think you can see it's kind of stiff right here. One of the things that we do for that is we take an old dryer sheet and just rub it on the ribbon. It won't take the color off, it'll just make the ribbon a little softer because the color and that makes it easier to tie. Once the ribbon is softened up a bit, then you won't have any trouble tying it. So there's our ribbon. Okay, then there's that little piece of paper that I have, which is like 1/2 inch by 5 1/4. That goes on the inside, again directional, so make sure you're aware of what direction your pattern is going in. I have a piece of basic white, a scrap of basic white that I cut this label out of, and this label comes from the seasonal labels dies. This dies right here. Okay, and I will be stamping on that in Old Olive. In just a minute I will be stamping just a little reminder that you are loved, and that'll be in Old Olive. So we'll be stamping that in a little bit. You need a piece of basic white, which is 4 inches by 5 1/4 for the inside, and that's what this piece is going to go attached to. All right, and that'll be on the inside of the card. Then I have 3 panels, and the trick is to keep these panels in order of how you cut them out. So I think, there we go. All right, and initially this piece of designer series paper, let's see, I believe that was 3 3/4 by 5 1/4, and I cut it into 1 1/4 inch by 5 1/4 inch strips, and I did that to 3 of them. Now there are ways that you could mount this differently than I did, but I wanted the yellow, the crushed curry, to show through here. So what I did was I left it, and then the ribbon is going to tie around the card, but you will see it on the inside, but it blends in so nicely it doesn't seem to get in the way of anything. So that ribbon will be there. If you wanted to, you could mount this on a piece of what, 5" by 5.5" maybe, or maybe 5.25, so that you would have some space in between it, and then you would tie your ribbon around it before you mounted it on or adhered it to your card base. So you can do that. So anyway, those are the pieces that you're going to need for this card. It's very quick, very simple, and I think you'll appreciate. And you can use if you're a crafter and you have a lot of materials at home, this particularly designer series paper and die sets. This is something that you can do with anything that you have that has a nice big pattern on it. All right, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to do my envelope first. So I'm going to push this up a little bit so you can see this better. All right, and please share my video if you will. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you've been with me for a while, welcome. If you're watching this as a replay, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And you remember, those of you who watch this live, you can always come back and watch the replay if you want to attempt to make the card. I will put the measurements and all the pieces that I used in my card. I'll put that information in a comment section after the video. So let's go ahead and start my Stampin' Seal. I like to use Stampin' Seal on my envelope. You could use any kind of adhesive that you wanted to. I like the Stampin' Seal because I feel like I'm going to get a smoother finish on it when I go to add this piece to it. And I go with my scissors. I could do this side if I wanted, but again, watching the direction of the piece that you put down, I'm going to butt this up right against the seam. Try not to go over it too much. Sometimes it's really hard to see where you're putting it, but I want to make sure that gets on there. All right, and then I'm going to adhere it to the envelope. Again, you see that the edges, I left it big enough so that I could cut around the edge of it. So that's what I'm going to do. Cut around the edge, and you have a pretty dressed up envelope. You know, usually at Christmas time or anniversaries or weddings or whatever, it's the only time I really used to see the really fancy envelopes come out, and so it's nice to kind of dress up your envelope a little bit, even though it is something that's going to get thrown away. It's still a nice presentation, I think. All right, so there's that piece, and the envelope is done. Okay, all right, so there, we can put that right there. Trash pile over here. Okay, now let's go ahead and stamp, and I'm going to need my paper piercing pad because this stamp that I'm using is a photopolymer stamp. It is a clear photopolymer stamp. I can see through it, so that really makes it very good for being able to position it just right on the label that you're putting the greeting on, or the greeting. All right, now I usually use my grid paper to help me get this aligned, get this as straight as I can possibly do it. I often mount my stamps at an angle when I'm doing something like this, so I can make sure that I can focus on the stamp and not the shape of the block that I'm using. And that way, I'm going to have to hold my breath here. That way, there you go. That way I can get it pretty straight. And usually that works pretty well. Okay, not bad, not bad. Okay, I'm putting that stamp over to the side on top of my Stampin' Scrub. All right, so that's ready to go. And let's move that out of the way because we won't need that anymore for any more stamping. Let's go ahead and get the pieces put together now. And this is where I use my Tombo liquid glue, which is one of my favorite adhesives. I used to only use the tape adhesive, what we used to call snail, but I have changed from that because I realized the glue, the Tombo glue, goes much further. I can do many more cards using the glue than I can the Tombo. The snail. Although I do use it for very specific things, like mounting the, and you notice how I went to the edge. The glue gives me an opportunity to kind of move it around. Let me make sure I've got that exactly right on the ends. Okay. Now I have my silicone mat underneath in case I get a little glue happy, and apparently I did get a little glue happy there. So that will dry in just a minute, and I'll be able just to wipe that right off. And when I do wipe it off, I usually use my fingers. I wipe it right off like that, and then just crumble, rub my fingers together and flick it off. And it goes into dust in the carpet, I guess. Oh well, anyway, what's the vacuum cleaner for, right? Okay, so this is on the inside of my card, so let's go ahead and mount that on the inside of my card. And I am going to use the seal. Now this is where I use the Stampin' Seal, because I feel like if you receive a card and you really do enjoy it and you really like it, usually on all my cards I put my, who it was created by and the Stampin' Up logo, because I use exclusively Stampin' Up materials. Anyway, I put my logo on the back of it, and that's okay. If you like the card so much and you think, gosh, I'd like to send this to a friend, putting an insert like this in a card with the Stampin' Seal, it's easier to remove the message that someone might write on this part. You can keep the message, put another piece of basic white cardstock, and again, it's 4 by 5 1/4, and most of us crafters have that pretty well down. We know that that's usually the typical size for an insert. That's what I call the white part that you write on, and I do put this in all my cards. I didn't used to for the longest time, but I think it really finishes the card off on the inside if you have a nice surface to write on that's nice and clear, and you don't have to try to read a dark cardstock, with black ink, and it's just makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to take this, turning my card sideways. I am going to look all and watching what the direction is of my designer series paper. I'm going to take this and add it into the center it as best I can, looking at all the edges. All right, and that's pretty good. Nothing I make is going to be perfect, and I really appreciate that. I don't try to make everything absolutely perfect. If there's a glaring error, I might do it again, but I would do it again. So I'm going to add these pieces next. So remember, I'm going to look at them and see that I have them exactly in the order that they were cut. So I believe, no, that's not it. This is it. All right, so they did get out of order. Okay, there we go. Yes, all right, so I'm putting that back together like that. Now I like to dry fit my my images that I'm putting on my card, because I want to make sure it fits and I know exactly where it's supposed to go. So this is the inside of my card, so that's going to be in the back. This is the front of the card, so I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to put it here, and I want to look at it and make sure that I am giving it enough space all the way around. And there's going to be a little gap between those. I want to make sure that the edges here are even, the top and the bottom edge. Okay, I look like I have a little room there. So I can move that over just a little bit. And now I'm going to use the glue again, which gives me the opportunity, if I need to move it around just a little bit. I'm going to leave these two pieces in place. Okay, you can see that. I'm leaving those two pieces in place. And I'm going to push this piece up and use my glue again to add this to my card front. Okay. All right, there we go. Now I'm going to turn this to the side very carefully. Hopefully I won't make too much of a mess, so that I can see the edges and see the end of it, so that I can, and again, being aware of the direction of my cardstock, or my DSP, trying to line it up to what's already there. Okay, now once you get this piece down and you get it on there straight, then you can fit in the other pieces. So to take this middle piece here, pull it up, do the same thing, add a little bit of glue all the way around it. Okay. Again, leaving a little space, watching the top and the bottom. Okay, and hopefully that looks about right. Okay. Holding down one end of it so it won't move around too much, because with the glue it does move around a little. And then this is the last piece I'm gluing down. Oh, my glue is getting down. Used quite a bit of it recently. All right, and here's the last piece that we're putting on. Okay, again, eyeballing it, looking to see if I have my edges down here even, my edges up there even, around the sides, nice gaps in the middle of that. It's not perfect, but it looks pretty decent, I think. All right, now on this part, what I'm going to do is take that piece of the crinkle, the white seam binding crinkle ribbon, and it's called crinkle because it comes across like it hasn't been ironed. It's not smooth. It has a little bit of texture to it. All right, so I'm going to take that and I'm going to add this to my card. And when I tie that, I want to make sure I'm kind of tying it kind of close to the middle, but I can move it up and down any way I put it. And I'm going to just go ahead and tie the bow, and I really do want it kind of over to the side, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to just tie the bow, because I'll show you a way to make sure that it is that it is going to stay. I can move that area around, so I'm going to tie this ribbon, and I'm hoping that you can see most of what I'm doing here. Okay. My fingers feel like lobster claws today. Here we go. Okay, hopefully. Ouch. All right, that didn't work because my finger has glue on it. Okay, so now there are always ways to do this. There are some people who use like a little, and I did use it earlier, I just didn't bring it over here with me, a little pair of reverse tweezers to help. But let's see how this goes. See if I can get this in here the second time. Okay, that's true. Let's see. Okay, that looked pretty good. Let me see if I've got, okay, I've got some room there. All right, so that's on there fairly nicely. I'm going to try to make the ribbon a little tighter, a little smaller, make the edges of the ribbon, the loops of the ribbon a little tighter and smaller here. Okay, there we go. And then this one is a very long ribbon edge here, so I'm going to make that smaller. Okay. All right, and I kind of like it looking a little lopsided or rumpled. Okay, so there we go. There's that ribbon. If you want that to really stay down nicely, you can use a glue dot if you have one there, but I am going to put this little greeting on the outside of it, and I'm going to put that over the ribbon, so the ribbon's really not going to move that much. So here I'm going to move this a little bit. You can take your card and kind of pull in the sides a little bit and move the ribbon around over there. Okay, there you go. I'm sorry that ribbon didn't tie as well as I wanted it to, but it is what it is. I'll come back in a minute and trim that edge, but now we're going to add this piece to it. Now you could add more bling to it if you wanted to. I'm going to not do that this time because I wanted to make it a really simple card, easy to do. You could put little glossy dots on it or whatever, but I really love the colors in this card, and I didn't want it to take away from that too much. So I'm going to use some of my dimensionals, and I'm going to put, not in the middle because the ribbon's going to go through the middle of this piece. I'm going to put my dimensionals on either side of that. And this is really, might be kind of overkill to put this many dimensionals on it, but I do want to make sure it stays put. And there's that. To take the backings off, very easily done using your fingernail, or you take your pick tool. Turn this over, again watching what direction you have that, and then just kind of move this where you want it. Okay. And there you go. And then I'm going to take my ribbon scissors, which unfortunately Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell anymore. But yes, I still have mine because I thought it was an important thing for me to keep. I'm going to trim that off right there. Okay. And I'm going to take a little glue dot and stick it under that bow. So give me a second. I'll run to my desk and get the glue dot. And there's my glue dot. Sorry. I usually try to have everything over here, and I just didn't think about the glue dots. I'm going to crumple this up just a little bit because it's bigger than the ribbon, and then you just stick it underneath the bow, and it's called card surgery. Okay, so there you go. There's that little ribbon right there, and there is your card. All done. Beautifully done. Just a little reminder that you are loved. Kindness is a valuable commodity these days, and it's something we all need to think more about and give people the reasonable doubt, and be kind to people. You never know what they're going through. So there you go. There are the two cards that we made. The one card that we made today. We pull some things aside and show you two other examples using that same designer series paper. This one I really do like. I used the back of this designer series paper, this paper that has the oval on it. What I did was I used the stitch rectangles. I mounted it on a piece of Night of Navy cardstock, and again used the stitch rectangle, the larger size for that, and just put a few little dots on it, some of those glossy dots, and stamped in the center of it, "May the good you do come back to you." Again, kindness and thinking about other people. And then this is one of the new ribbons, the Night of Navy sheer ribbon. Okay. And finally, the last one that I made. This one I did some fussy cutting because, as I told you earlier, I don't have the stamp set, but I do have the designer series paper. And so what I did was I fussy cut this image out of the designer series paper, and I mounted it on this, and this is again designer series paper. There we go, with that background on it, and then did this. And this is a card that I saw Jackie Boheis do, and this is Wishes for a Beautiful Birthday, using the Fresh Freesia ink, and that's the same color as this designer series paper. And then of course that is also the Old Olive, and that's a really sweet little card that'll sit like this on your desk, kind of like that, and you can see that. So anyway, so I really do enjoy that. The action of that. That's a nice fun fold. There are lots of pieces to that, however. So yeah, and knowing how to cut the slit in the paper at the right place and where to score the paper so that you have that correct. But Jackie gives fantastic directions on how to do those kinds of things. And she has a YouTube channel that she's every week she's on YouTube, so I catch her on a regular basis. So there are the cards that I made. I hope you enjoy these and are able to be a little inspired by them. They're really, I think, really lovely because the designer series paper is just amazing. So all of those products that I used, I will make sure to put on in the comment section, and you can go ahead and watch, come back to watch this again, and hopefully my directions will make sense to you after you see it a second time. But it's a really easy card to put together. So thank you for watching, thank you for being here live, and thank you for leaving comments and so forth so that I know who has been watching. And I will give you the opportunity to get back to your evening, and I will see you again next week on the 17th. So take care and be careful, stay well, and wear your masks. Thank you very much. Bye.